Good morning. It is 7:17 a.m. on Monday, February 15th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. It is Monday, whether it's one moment. Oh my goodness. Uh, Apologies if that was loud into the mic. I tried to turn away. Um, it's a holiday week. Not everyone necessarily has it as a holiday. I have a slightly complicated situation where, like, technically I'm a contractor and it's a client holiday, but not a holiday for me, which essentially means I take a vacation day. But that's fine. Um, so just kind of hanging out. I watched a few movies yesterday. I continue to be very entertained by the podcast Unspooled, which I started listening to because essentially it was doing the same thing that Mike and I were doing for watching 100 movies. They were watching through the AFI list. But like Mike and I have, they finished the original list and they're now doing other movies. But I have been watching along with them the movies that they're talking about now, and so yesterday I watched two because I'm a little bit behind. I watched A Place in the Sun, which is a 1951 drama, and then I watched Promising Young Woman, which is a brand new, or I guess technically last year, um, movie about. It's a little hard to classify in terms of genre, but I'll get more into that. So the short version, though, is that A Place in the Sun is stars Elizabeth Taylor, Shelley Winters, and Montgomery Clift, and is an interesting story because I really had no idea where it was going to go to begin with, but in large part, what it tells is the story of this guy who is, related to a rich and powerful family, but was really never part of what they have going on, and so he was involved with, like, his family had been extremely religious, and so he had been raised off with them and not as part of this rich and powerful side of the family. But he is apparently left behind his religious relatives for reasons that are really never explained. And he's trying to make a go of it in the rest of the world. But he's kind of a fascinating character to think about because essentially he is someone who, to all appearances, is a very sincere, um, person who's just trying to get by and do his thing and, um, you know, make a name for himself and fall in love just like anyone else. But the thing is that he is kind of ultimately, in a way that's not all that unusual, extremely self absorbed and inconsiderate in a way that, like, so I guess essentially what happens is that he falls in love with a girl who seems unattainable and then kind of consoles himself with a girl who's available. And okay, he likes her enough. But then, just as the original crush turns out maybe not so unattainable after all, maybe she's actually interested and he really loves her more, just as consolation prize girl, whoops, pregnant in 1951. And I won't go into what happens in the plot from there exactly, but it's ultimately just kind of about how this guy is wreaking a lot of havoc in the world without really, like, meaning to. Like, he's the sort of person that kind of sees himself as a victim throughout all of this. And I don't know. It's a little complicated. If I feel like I'm equivocating, it's because it is a little bit like I believe it was based on a book called An American Tragedy, and so it's basically just someone who you know is willing to work hard, but only in certain areas, and because of his unwillingness to occasionally make decisions that are inconvenient or unpleasant for him personally, he ends up doing a lot of damage and causing a lot of trouble, even for himself. Um, but then A Promising Young Woman is a movie that also, like Day in the Sun or A Place in the Sun is just pretty much, it's a drama, right? Promising Young Woman has elements of maybe black comedy, elements of maybe revenge movie, but then frankly, it actually kind of defies all of those, and I think actually what it probably fits best as is an addiction movie, except that the addiction in this case is a little unusual. Um, to spoil something that's basically part of the very first scene and also revealed in the trailer, so I don't feel too bad about spoiling it. But that's as far as I will go in terms of spoilers. Is the movie opens with you know a club, a nightclub where there's a bunch of people, getting drunk, and then we're focused on this group of guys at the bar, and they're observing how there's this girl in the bar who seems really, really drunk, and they're kind of mocking her for letting herself get that drunk in public. Like, where are her friends? Doesn't she have anyone to take care of? And then there's a little bit of innuendo of like, you know, she's making herself vulnerable in case some guy wants to, and that sort of thing. And then of the three guys, the one who seems to be sort of pushing for like, come on guys, that's very not nice to say, and seems to be the one who's sort of pushing for the more feminist perspective of the three, and eventually says, "Okay, come on, like she's in trouble. I'll make sure she gets home all right." But of course, because I wouldn't want to say of course because anyone would do this, but in the movie, of course, what ends up happening is, "Oh, you don't need to get an Uber. I'll take you home. I'll get a cab and we'll split it with you. Oh, you know what? Hey, this is my place. You want to just stop in and get another drink?" And she's like, obviously hammered, does not say anything to lead him on, but does not resist when he insists, essentially. And But it gets to the point where she is laying on his bed in his apartment after he tries to have her drink more, and then as so I don't want to like you know uh, be too lewd about it, but essentially as he starts doing what we're all predicting, she's just like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" But then when he doesn't stop, she sits up and now reveals herself to be completely sober and says, "What are you doing?" And we realize she wasn't drunk at all. And so that's the sort of reveal that I think tells you a little bit about what kind of movie this is. And yet, I'll point out, like I said, it's not just like a revenge movie, it's more complicated than that. But it's pretty interesting. Obviously, sensitive subject matter. But I will go ahead and I'll leave it there for now, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.